Hey guys, Nathan Brendan Masters. Got a ton of stuff to do today, so I'm not going to be able to upload a bunch of videos, but I will upload this one, and this is going to be a long one. Real quick, this is some of the artwork from Hexcraft Mechanics issue 2. That's the one that's going on sale next week, so you can check this out. Some of you may have already seen this. If not, this is the fight between Dracula and Ice Chaotix. If you've seen it before, you can just listen to the video. If you haven't seen it, it's new to you. So today we're coming with AskReddit, and this one is going to be a little bit creepy. This is Paranormal Believers of Reddit. What made you believe? And this is a serious thread, so it's going to be good. Now, before I jump into all of that, I'm going to remind you about the project you see me working on here. This is Hexcraft Mechanics Issue 2. If you want to see the preview of this, the preview of the Indiegogo campaign, you can click the link in the description. We do plan to launch this campaign next week. So I will be launching the live link then, of course. And speaking of links, you can find the link to this thread in the description. Let's jump into it. Paranormal Believers of Reddit, what made you believe? When I was 18, living on my own for the first time, I kept waking up and seeing a woman with matted black hair sitting on my bed and smiling at me. A creepy smile, not a nice one. She scared the shit out of me. One night I woke up and she was there and slowly held up her hands, and they were freaking grotesque. It looked like third-degree burns covering them. I was talking to my mom and mentioned it, and she just said, "Weird. She hasn't been around since you were a kid. Don't encourage her." She shows up now and again, sometimes in nightmares. Sometimes when I wake up, she's at the foot of the bed being creepy. I've had roommates who have seen her too, without me mentioning it to them ever before. I just ignore her. Now, I've seen some creepy stuff before myself, so I find it incredibly amusing that the mom is like, "Oh, her? Yeah, just just don't encourage her." Like the ghost is just some kind of unruly kid. It's like just don't encourage her. She'll go away. When I moved in with my boyfriend, he told me there was a ghost man that had always followed him wherever he lived. I'm a firm believer in the paranormal anyway, but it really didn't bother me after some reassurances that he was benevolent. Not long after moving in, our roommate's girlfriend started staying over more often, and this ghost hated her. If she'd use our bathroom, the faucets would both turn on full blast. This would always cause her to run out of the bathroom with her pants around her ankles. The ceiling fans would turn on by themselves, the TV would increase in volume on its own. You had to unplug it to get it to stop. We replaced the TV, that one did the same thing. After a few months of weird shit happening, I awoke to the feeling of someone sitting at the foot of the bed. I felt the bed compress as though a real person had sat down. I jerked up and looked around and saw nothing, but there was an imprint in our comforter where someone had sat. Several more weeks go by, and finally the same thing happened again, only this time there was a man there. Big hat, trench coat, looked like he was straight out of Western. After a few seconds, he disappeared. I told my boyfriend about him, and his response was, "Oh, good, he finally let you see him." After that, it just became normal. He sat at the end of the bed most nights while I was pregnant, and then after the baby was born, he must have went in and sat with her. We would still catch glimpses of him here and there, and you'd hear footsteps when home alone. We eventually broke up, and I gotta say, I missed the ghost way more than the boyfriend. I gotta chime in here about, I'm realizing that there's a bunch of people out there who have ghosts that hang around them, and they're just like, "Yeah, that's my guy over there. We cool like that." Wow. I can't say it really fully pushed me over the edge, but it made me, to use a double negative, not believe. I guess I'm agnostic on it. I grew up with a Burmese mountain dog. Anybody that knows them knows they're already calm, gentle giants. Mine never once in his entire life barked or growled at anything. He was calm and stoic. Until one night he wasn't. I was about 15, home alone with the dog, and he just lost his shit. He looked around the room, let loose a growl that absolutely thundered in his chest, and started barking like mad. He had stood up and was in a threatening pose, his hair all straightened out and laid flat. He was ready to go. It was pure pants-shitting terror for what felt like 1,000 years or so. Then he just stopped. His hair mussed back, and he patted over, dropped his mouth in a very big doggy grin, and licked my face. If it was a demon or something, it didn't want to frick with my dog again. Well, with that one, you can't really say what was going on, but people always say that animals are extra, they're kind of extra sensitive to paranormal stuff. So that does sound like something went on there, but we got no real evidence of anything happening. So for all we know, his dog could have just had a moment. But it does sound like something otherworldly may have been passing through at the time. Now, this next one I don't really know how to feel about it, but let's get into it. It was the night after my dad unexpectedly died a few years ago. He always used to make fun of me for watching paranormal shows. I would jokingly tell him that if I ever died, to watch for weird shit to happen because I was going to give him a sign that it's real. I was laying in bed sobbing and trying to process that I had just lost him. I was trying to be quiet because I was laying next to my boyfriend at the time who was sleeping. It was the absolute most painful feeling I've ever felt to this day. All of a sudden my phone that was on the nightstand started lighting up and beeping. No notifications, just flashing on and off while making noises. It wasn't plugged in, just sitting there. After about 2 minutes of it, I was almost in a panic. I'm still not sure why, but it scared me. I said out loud, "Dad, if that's you, please stop because I'm freaking out." Then it stopped, just as quickly as it had started. I know it was him. I've regretted telling him to stop since the second it came out of my mouth. I've never really felt him since. Maybe it was him, just letting me know he was there and that all the shit he gave me for believing was worth it. Maybe I was just at a mental breaking point. Who knows? But I'm glad it happened and I got to experience it. Now, those stories with the deceased relatives coming back and interacting with people, that stuff always kind of gets to me. Now that those stories kind of do it. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of those stories out there, and they do kind of make you consider what happens after you leave this mortal life. 3 things for me. 2 are sightings, and 1 was an experience that saved my life. Firstly was in my first house. I was alone in the house with the bathroom door locked as I was taking a shower. I turned to get the soap and there was something standing right outside the shower door. I thought my roommate came home and was messing with me, so I told him to get lost. Only after finishing my shower, I find that the door was indeed locked. Second, that in my current house, we often have nuns walking across the corridor from the spare room to our bedroom. Still happens on occasion today. Lastly, it was about 5 years ago when something pulled me back from a pedestrian crossing just as a lorry went barreling through the red light whilst the driver was looking to his left. I surely would have been severely injured, if not killed. There was absolutely no one near me to have been able to pull me backwards. While all that's creepy as it is, I'm glad OP didn't get hit by that lorry. That sounds like that would have been really bad. So when I was younger, my mom used to invite random neighborhood children over for dinner and parties so that they could eat. At my sister's birthday party, everyone was outside getting ready to hit the piñata. My father noticed a girl sitting inside staring out the window at us. We have a large window beside our front door. He told me to go inside and ask her to come out and join the party. I ran up the walkway. looking at her through the window as I walked toward the door, and then as soon as I passed through the doorway, losing sight of her for a few seconds, she was gone. My dad thought she had fallen. There's a couch in front of the window, so he thought she fell on the couch. I looked around for her but couldn't find her. I told my dad. He helped me look for her, but still nothing. No one else saw her except me and my dad. My mom said she didn't recall inviting any girls with our description of her. We forgot about it until some years later, though I don't really know exactly how many. My dad and I were sitting in the living room watching TV. From my dad's armchair, you can see into the kitchen a little bit. Me and my dad were talking about the show we were watching when he suddenly got quiet. He said my name and motioned for me to come over to him. He told me to look at the microwave. I saw that girl's reflection in the microwave, exactly the same as before. I ran into the kitchen and my dad followed, but again, no one was there. We were both pretty spooked, so we went out for ice cream until my mom came home. I thought it was a neighborhood kid playing a prank on us the first time, but seeing her the second time, unchanged in our kitchen many years later, made me start believing in ghosts. Edit. Thank you so much for my first Reddit award. I wasn't expecting this random event to be of so much interest to anyone. I appreciate all the comments and stories everyone is sharing. I like the fact that both the dad and the daughter were like, nope, I'm out. We'll wait till mom gets home. But that was a creepy enough experience. It's always creepy when you think something, something's in your dwelling. And so my husband and I live in a 100-year-old house. It's always been a little creepy. Like hearing people talking in another room and going in and there's no one there. But a couple of years ago, we had 2 really good huntings that totally convinced me the paranormal is real. The first thing that happened was when I was sleeping on the living room floor in front of the TV because I had hurt my back and was trying to get it to unkink. I woke up at 4 a.m. and I heard the mantle clock chime 4. I'm sure I was awake because I watched TV for a few minutes. I heard my husband walk into the room behind me, pick up the comforter, and spoon behind me with his arm thrown over my waist. After a couple of minutes, it was like his arm weighed a ton, and he was throwing off a lot of heat. Just about then, I heard my husband start snoring in the bedroom. I was like, ah, shit, freaking terrified. So I counted to 3 and threw the cover off and ran. Woke him up, and we looked. There was no one in the house. I know there was something there, though. The second time, we were both asleep in the bedroom at about 4 a.m. again. My husband says he woke up to hear 2 little girls talking. He could hear that they were playing jacks. He could hear the ball bouncing and the metal sound of the jacks on the wood floors. One of the little girls says to the other, "Watch this." And she goes, "Mama, mama." And I sat straight up, still asleep. Said, "What, baby?" Once a mom, always mom, right? The little girls laughed because it worked. So he kind of shook me awake, and I looked at him, then at the doorway where the little girls were. They looked real, except their outlines were wavering, and they were almost black and white in coloring. They saw us both looking and laughed. Then the older girl grabbed the little one's hand. They walked right through the bedroom wall and disappeared. Just like I said, it's uniquely scary when the ghosts take up residence in your home. So, always scary. This last one here is going to be a little bit different. I have 2 spooky incidents that happened after my dad passed. First time is that my dad passed away while we were out of the country. It was very unexpected. A couple of days before he passed, he had issues sending and receiving texts and calls. His phone was always on for business calls and emergencies when we were on vacation and traveling. Several days after we get back home and are planning his funeral with my family, I'm confessing to them that he embarrassed me at dinner, and my last conversation with him was us arguing before he passed, and I felt horribly guilty. Just as I explained that, I hear my phone go off and see a text from my dad. We had his phone charging in the kitchen, so it was already creeping us out that none of us had touched it for the past few days. I opened the text and it said, "I love you. Love, Dad." I obviously lost it, and so did my family. My logical mind says that it's just a text he sent while he was testing his phone the week prior that finally went through. But his phone was on and connected for at least 3 days back home, and the text came at that exact moment. A month or so after my dad passed, I was driving to the first family get-together since the funeral, and I was sort of in a funk. This is the first family outing without my dad. As I'm driving through a rural area, I hear my dad's voice yell at me to stop. He taught me to drive, and I was very familiar with his panic yells. I slam on my brakes at an intersection with the green light for me, and an 18-wheeler comes barreling through the intersection. If I didn't stop, I would have definitely been hit. Once again, could be grief in thinking about the times my dad taught me how to drive, but still weirds me out to this day. Haven't had any weird instances since these, and it's been almost 8 years now. That was nice. I like stories like that, kind of like that loved one protecting you from the grave. So that's it, guys. This was a little bit longer. This will probably be the only video I put up today. I may possibly have one later. I don't know. But if I don't, I'll see you guys tomorrow. And don't forget, guys, the preview link for Hexcraft Mechanics Issue 2 is in the description. That's the book that you've been watching me draw here. We're going to launch that next week on Indiegogo. So go over there and check it out, guys. Nathyn Brandon Masters, you guys take it easy. Hasta.
Don't look back, we're here to stay. A life we knew would come one day. And this is it, the borderline to where the future leaves us behind. The fire will burn and never die, looking through the eyes of a brand new life. It's so just fine.